Later, the truth about living longer. New tips from some very old folks on how you can be happier and healthier over the very long haul. We're looking seriously at what they are doing, what secrets they have that maybe all of us can learn from. You're watching 360. And does living a very long life sound risky to you? After all, who wants decades of ill health and frailty? What about being a healthy and vigorous 100 years old? A lot of people all over the world are able to do it. We'll show you their secrets. Tonight, living longer and stronger. Secrets revealed from around the world. These folks are sharp. We'll find out how they stay that way. Secrets to living longer, much longer, 100 years or more, and without the usual health problems. Tonight, we travel the world to learn what those who live longest are doing right and what they can teach the rest of us. They are an inspiration and a mystery. One of the most fascinating slices, we think, of the world's population. People who live to be 100 years or older and yet remain healthy, even vigorous. They're clearly doing something right. But what exactly? Researchers are slowly beginning to unravel why this elite group is off the charts when it comes not just to aging, but aging well, extraordinarily well. National Geographic devotes its cover story this month to the secrets of living longer. The issue is now on newsstands, and Dan Buettner, who wrote the story, will be joining us later to answer your calls and your emails. He visited 3 corners of the world where people live the longest to find out exactly what they're doing and what lessons they have to teach us. Tonight, we'll take you around the globe, retracing Dan's path. Along the way, you'll meet some remarkable people. We're pretty sure they'll change everything you thought you knew about what it means to be old, very old. We begin in Loma Linda, California, of all places, home to some of the hardiest people in the United States. Here's CNN's Gary Tuckman.
Okay, ready?
I think so.
Marge Jatan renewed her driver's license in 2004. She was born in 1904.
So I always drive slowly because I can get more mileage to my gas that way. Didn't you know that?
I do know that. They're right. You're right.
Well, not very many men do.
Marge is now 101. Her license expires when she's 104.
Are you a good driver?
I think I am.
Marge also has another set of wheels, a stationary bicycle, which she uses for a daily 8-mile ride, which is then followed by a regimen of weightlifting, usually accompanied by some power walking in her neighborhood in Loma Linda, California.
Why do you walk so fast? You're going to have a tough time having people keep up with you.
I love, somebody rings the bell and you got to hurry. I've been a nurse for many years.
Okay.
Marge was married to a doctor for 77 years. James Jatan died 2.5 years ago at age 96. She has 2 children, 4 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. Marge grew up in Northern California and remembers the great 1906 San Francisco earthquake.
I was 2 years old, and I remembered that the water was splashing out of the horse trough. Wondered if they'd have anything left to drink.
So how is this 101-year-old woman maintain this amazing mental and physical condition?
In true righteousness and holiness.
Marge Jatan believes faith has much to do with it.
I'm a Seventh-day Adventist.
What then shall we say, brothers?
The Adventists, Christians who observe the Sabbath on Saturday, the 7th day of the week, preach good health. An Adventist is not supposed to drink, smoke, or eat many types of meat. Many Adventists don't eat any meat at all and refrain from coffee and soft drinks.
Our bodies are an important part of what it means to be children of God. We only have one while we're here.
Now suck it up.
Okay.
Surprise breath and stay surprised.
All right.
Then my living shall not be in vain.
Minnie Iverson Wood is also a Seventh-day Adventist.
Suck it. That was a good one.
At the age of 97, she teaches voice and piano lessons.
If I can help somebody.
You're not going to hell.
And strictly observes the teachings of her religion.
When you are satisfied with what you're doing, you can relax and you can get a night's sleep. But if you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing, you lose sleep and you lose strength.
There are about 14 million Seventh-day Adventists in the world, and this congregation in Loma Linda is the church's largest. About 40% of the people who live in this city are Seventh-day Adventists.
And it appears they live longer than others. A National Institutes of Health study shows Seventh-day Adventists in California live 5 to 8 years longer than other Californians. That's why National Geographic magazine came here for the cover story titled The Secrets of Living Longer.
That religious-based sense of purpose, I think, gave them a enthusiasm for life, something that propelled them into their older years.
May your kingdom be established in our praises.
The Loma Linda congregation is full of elderly people. So are exercise classes held in the town.
I want to beat the retirement system, and the only way to beat it is to keep breathing.
Have we had enough?
And when you combine one's faith, one's community, along with a good, healthy diet and an exercise program, together, combined, can result in significant improvement of longevity.
Marge Jatan has one other quality that leads to longevity, a good sense of humor.
Not only do you not look 101, you don't look 91, you look about 81.
Well, keep talking.
Marge says it all comes back to faith and embracing every day.
How does it make you feel that you've reached this age and are in the shape you are, such a good shape?
I marvel at it.
Marge and Minnie are very inspirational women. It's very nice to do such an inspirational story. And here's a good addition to it. 101-year-old Marge does a lot of volunteer work at the hospital, at her church, and last night, a civic group in Southern California gave her the Philanthropist of the Year award. And I will tell you, Anderson, I would like, if 4 decades from now, I'm in a position to win some type of award.
she's remarkable. And I mean, to see her working out at 101 is just incredible. And she walks fast, you were saying.
She does a lot more than most of us.
Yeah, I know. I was watching her thinking, I really got to start going to the gym. This is really getting pathetic. I think she's lifting more weights than I can. We've taken you to 3 continents tonight looking for the secrets of living a longer and better life. Now it's your turn to be in the driver's seat. You're here to answer your questions is Dr. Thomas Perls, professor of medicine at Boston University Medical Center and director of the New England Centenarian. Did I say that right? Yes, Centenarian study. There you go. And here with me in New York is Dan Buettner, who wrote the cover story for National Geo. The Secrets of Living Longer is in this month's issue on newsstands now. He's also the founder of BlueZones.com, a website devoted to the study of longevity. Dan, based on what you saw in Sardinia and Okinawa and Loma Linda, what's the biggest takeaway for you?
Well, we found about a dozen really extraordinary things in the article, but I'll tell you the top 3. Number 1, we've all heard of the Atkins diet, but the cultures of longevity, the blue zones as we call them, eat almost always a plant-based diet. Lots of legumes, almost no meat. I think a big takeaway is minimizing meat in your diet.
Interesting.
Number 2, we tend to exercise in great exuberant bursts. 85,000 people signed up for the marathon, New York Marathon last weekend. Cultures of longevity do sort of daily kind of low intensity exercise. The Sardinians we just saw were shepherds. They take long walks. The Okinawans garden a couple hours a day. I think the best level of physical activity is probably 40-minute walk every day.
And exercise seemed to be built into their lifestyle.
Right, it was sort of encoded in their cultures, so it wasn't regimented. It just happened naturally.
Dr. Perls, I mean, say you're listening to this, you're 50 years old, you're cranky, you're a meat eater, you're a smoker. Is it still possible to extend your life at this point, or is the damage already done?
No, actually, 50s, even 60s, I think, the horse isn't out of the barn at all. And some of the things that have already been talked about clearly benefit people. I would say even things like exercise, both your body and your brain, benefit people into their 90s.
You have a thing which you spell out as aging. It's sort of a formula for living longer, A-G-E-I-N-G. Let's just quickly run through it. A is for attitude. Do you need a positive attitude?
Absolutely. I think what was also said in the Okinawan piece about having a cause that gets you up in the morning is really important for these people. There's a couple of other things. The centenarians, they raise the bar for the rest of us so that I think when people start thinking about getting to their 80s, it's not such a big deal.
But what about genetics? I mean, genetics, G is the next thing in your aging chart. I mean, you know, I've got my dad died when he was 50 years old. I kind of wonder how much I can really do to overcome genetics.
I think looking at the longevity in your family is really important. If you have people living into your 90s or even 100, that's really good news. You may even be able to indulge a bit. On the other hand, if people are passing away in their 60s or 70s, then it's really important for those people to enter into a good program of prevention and screening with their doctor.
And then also exercise you talked about a lot being a key in this. Also interest. I mean, people maintaining an active life with a lot of different interests.
Yeah, in America we tend to break up our adult lives into two phases, the working phase and the retirement phase. In Okinawa it's ikigai, this sense of purpose, the reason for which they wake up in the morning that sort of propels them through into their hundreds in many cases.
Doctor, what do you think about that? What is the next one? We got two more. We got nutrition.
Well, just one more thing about the interest. We'll be talking about exercise in a minute, but we also want to exercise our brains and learning new things that are also complex. The most powerful would be learning a musical instrument or learning a language. This exercises the brain. It gives it more functional reserve. It actually means a delay in things like Alzheimer's disease for those who are prone to it. It means a delay in problems with your memory.
You also say nutrition, and then G, getting rid of smoking. But Dan, in a lot of these places, people are smoking all over the place, and you're getting exposed to secondhand smoke in Okinawa and Sardinia?
Not the centenarians. A very tiny percentage of centenarians that we interviewed for the story smoke, maybe 1 or 2%.
Okay.
So smoking is definitely, I think the biggest thing most Americans do to live longer is to cut out smoking.
Dr. Pearls, you got this website, liveinto100.com. You have a longevity calculator, and I actually did the test earlier. I said I'm going to live to 87, and I said that's sort of my target. One of the factors, though, was flossing. Why is flossing so important?
There's a good link between gum disease and the inflammation associated with it and heart disease. So good gum health, it's good for your heart, it's good for your sex life, all kinds of things.
Dan, is there something that you changed in your life after doing this story?
I quit eating a lot of meat, I took up yoga, and invest more time in my family.
That's the other thing that really struck me, especially the incorporation of elderly with young people in these families. It's so important, Dan.
That was a huge finding, the attitude towards elders. When people get old in our country and frail, we tend to warehouse them. But in Sardinia, 95% of these centenarians live with their family. And when you're living with your family, you have better care, you're loved, and you're expected to love. And there's even something called the grandmother effect. And children who live in households with grandparents do better than children living with no grandparents. So
we're going to talk more about this after the break. We're going to take your calls at home, also your emails. You can send us an email at cnn.com/360. You can click on the instant feedback link or call us at 1-877-648-3639. You can put your questions to Dan and the good doctor. We'll be right back. You can ask to Dr. Thomas Pearls, Professor of Medicine at Boston University Medical Center and Director of the New England Centenarian Study. And here with me in New York, Dan Buettner. He wrote the cover story in National Geographic this month, The Secrets of Living Longer. It's on the newsstands right now. He's also the founder of BlueZones.com, a website devoted to the study of longevity. Our first caller is Lorraine in North Carolina. Lorraine, good evening. What's your question?
Yes, I was wondering what the doctor thinks about peace of mind. I'm 86 and I think I'm doing very, very well. I'm very active in my mind and my body, and I wondered if peace of mind has a lot to do with it.
It's a great point. What about it, doctor?
A lot of these people, it's not so much the amount of stress that they've had in their lives, it's that they manage it so very well. And we see that all the time among these folks. They don't dwell on these things. They don't internalize stuff that would be stressful. They seem to just be able to let go. And as Dan said, yoga is a great way to do that if it doesn't come naturally. Other things are like Tai Chi, meditate, other forms of meditation, even learning to take a deep breath now and then. And spirituality, I think with the Seventh-day Adventists, the spirituality in their lives probably plays a role in having that kind of peace of mind that you're talking about. It's very important.
Well, Dan, one of the Seventh-day Adventists we were hearing from earlier in Gary Tuckson's piece, was saying about going to sleep at night, sort of feeling good about what you've done throughout the day and not sort of tossing and turning, and sort of all of the people in the piece seem very content with their life.
The Adventists, encoded in their religion, is 24 hours, sunset Friday to sunset Saturday, where they take a sanctuary in time. No matter how busy, no matter how stressed out they are, they take 24 hours to focus on their religion, on their family, and then they actually prescribe to take walks in nature.
Oh, that's good. That's cool. So, there's so many, I'm glad we're doing this because, I completely don't live this lifestyle, and I really now am more motivated to do it more than ever. We got another question from Brandy in Massachusetts. Brandy, good evening. What's your question?
Hi, Anderson. I love your show.
Thanks.
My question concerns climate. The people being interviewed seem to be from a warmer climate. Does that have anything to do with living longer, perhaps?
Dan, what'd you find?
Well, that was true. That was true in Okinawa and Sardinia, but the Seventh-day Adventists, they're all over the United States. In fact, they're all over the world. And this Adventist health study out of Loma Linda showed that that men can live as much as 11 years longer than their American counterparts. So this is purely lifestyle, and it doesn't have anything to do with climate.
Dr. Pearls, do you have anything to add on that?
I would agree. There's actually been this whole mystique about this thing called Shangri-La, and we equate these very high places in the hills of Pakistan, at the Chinese border, and places like that, the Hunza region. And I would agree with Dan. It's more myth than it's more lifestyle that counts.
Now the question, Kathy in California has a call. Kathy, what's your question?
Hi, Anderson.
Hey.
Love your show.
Thanks.
And hi, Dan.
Hi,
I
Kath.
tried to reach you. I'm Marty Chatan's daughter-in-law.
Oh, we love you.
Well, she loves you. And anyway, I was just talking to her, and she said she'd call, you'd call. And one thing I wanted to add about my mother-in-law that's so remarkable, and it's her spirit for loving and giving to everyone in her family, everyone that she meets. She never, ever has nothing to do. And I, being her daughter-in-law, it's been a tough act to follow. She's a remarkable person.
Well, and that really gets to attitude. I mean, that's a key thing.
Yeah, Marge was a poster girl for living well, for these centenarians. You know, we interviewed over 100 of them, and uniformly you find these people are consummately likable people. We all know seniors who you're with them for 5 minutes and you're looking at your watch. People like Marge are not only interesting, but they're interested. And they become likable. I don't know if they were born that way or they've made the effort. But at the end of the day, they're surrounded by a social network. They get better care. They have lower levels of stress, and they stay sharper than people who are not likable.
We got an email from Linda Banks in Boulder, Colorado. Linda wrote in, what was learned about what role diet plays? I'm a vegetarian, eat lots of soy, although I've been reading bad things about soy. Dan, anything? You talked about greens and legumes.
The Okinawans eat about 8 times more tofu than Americans do. I think that's really kind of a complete superfood in many ways. The Seventh-day Adventists found that people who eat nuts 4 times a week, at least 2 ounces, were living as much as 3 years longer than people who weren't eating nuts. They don't know why, but certainly a plant-based diet.
Dr. Pearls, what about soy?
Well, I think Dan's earlier point about the fact that they don't eat red meat, so they're replacing that with these soy products, and it's the iron in the red meat. I think iron plays a really important role in the basic biology of aging, and perhaps just less iron in your diet. And the main source of iron in our diet is red meat. So, and then I think the other really important thing about nutrition is you would look at most of these centenarians and they're thin. You rarely see, especially among the men, you rarely see fat centenarians. And so the other important component of the diet is that they're mostly thin.
It's a fascinating topic. It's in the National Geographic on the newsstands now. Dr. Thomas Pearls, thanks, and Dan Buettner, you wrote the article. Thanks. It's great talking to you.
Great. Thank you.